Hello. Hawaiian pizza, yes or no? Yes and no. No, I would never go out of my way to order one, and yes, I would gladly partake of a slice if you ever offered me one. And I would enjoy it too. I asked before, and I'm going to keep on asking you, why aren't you speaking out more against the genocide in Palestine? Do you remember Yasser Arafat and the PLO? You remember Menachem Begin and Anwar al-Sadat and the Camp David Accords? You remember Golda Meir and Moshe Dayan? You remember Abdel Nasser and the Suez Canal? You remember David Ben-Gurion? I ask because I happen to remember all of them. Perhaps you don't, but I'll bet your parents do. And if they don't, then your grandparents and your great-grandparents most definitely remember those names. Because you see, kiddies, this war, which you've only just personally discovered and pointed out to all of the rest of us, which you've been clarifying and explaining to all of us, this war, the existence of which you brought to our attention, has been going on for over 100 years. And that's just geopolitically. Religiously, it's been going on for 2,000 years. And yet, your primary prioritized focal point seems to be centered around the notion of free Palestine. Something which can only be achieved through one course of action. The U.S. must cease all of its aid and all of its support to the nation of Israel. No more finances, no more weaponry. The U.S. must cease its support altogether, once and for all. After which I suppose the logical follow-through is that the war would come to a grinding halt, the conflict would end, Palestine would be free, and you would have peace in the Middle East. And that's exactly what you would have. You would have peace in the Middle East. Well, perhaps not the sort that you envision, but that would be the outcome just the same. If we took a metaphorical magic wand and we granted you your wish, we gave you what you want, what you think is necessary, what you believe is needed, in giving you what you want, we would likewise reveal to you the conundrum, the Chinese puzzle box. To employ a little colorful colloquialism, which I would just as soon not utilize, we would reveal to you that supreme clusterfuck, which comprises all of the Orwellian abstractions and absurdities inherent in the nature of war itself. We grant you your wish, and tomorrow morning when you wake up, the U.S. announces to the entire world the United States is forthwith ceasing all of its aid and support to the nation of Israel. Your ride on the American gravy train is over. No more money, no more munitions. Israel, you're on your own. Now, Israel has a remarkable military and a substantial arsenal, and finding themselves alone, an island surrounded by enemies, they would be able to make a stand. They would be able to stand alone for a little while, but in time, all of those Arabian countries, all of those Islamic factions, all of the extremist jihadists, the Palestinians themselves, all of these enemies would slowly be approaching and then encroaching, and the Israelis would feel the walls beginning to close in. And when those walls begin to crumble, logically your follow-through is that Israel would say, we give up, we surrender. And it is at this juncture that Israel would reveal to the world one final lesson learned from the Holocaust, direct from Der Führer himself: scorched earth policy. Israel has made it transparently clear, legislatively clear, that should they ever find themselves at such a crossroads of Armageddon, this juncture of check and mate, they would unhesitatingly initiate a self-destruct strategy. If we have to go, we will take all of the rest of you with us. And Israel would obliterate itself. And in doing so, they would erase Palestine from the face of the earth. And this is not to mention the collateral damage inflicted upon all of those surrounding nations. Yes, you would have peace in the Middle East, peace and quiet, because there would be no one around to make any noise in what would become a nuclear radioactive wasteland. Now this, of course, is not what you want. So there must be some kind of an alternative. And, as it were, there is. And in order to illustrate it, we will have to reverse engineer. We do not want this destruction in the Middle East. Well, what brought it about? The Israelis were compelled to initiate this self-destruct strategy. Well, how do we prevent them from being compelled in doing this? Well, what compelled them to do this in the first place? They were losing the war. Well, how do we see to it that they do not end up losing the war, that they can at least stay in the game, maintain the conflict, hold their stance within this war? Well, we could make sure this happens by lending them support. For instance, support from the United States of America. Do you understand? This is how the United States trapped themselves into supporting Israel in Israel's attempt in actually pursuing the crazed belief that they can win this war. The United States must go right on supporting Israel in this war, because that's the only way that Israel and Palestine can ever hope to attain peace. Get it? Clusterfuck.